Close your eyes, take a slow breath in, hold it for just a moment, and let it out. Again, breathe in slowly, feel your lungs fill completely, all the way to the bottom, and out. Let your shoulders drop, let your jaw unclench, let your hands open. Feel the weight of everything today. Every conversation, every decision, every worry, every unfinished thought, leaving your body now, flowing out through your fingertips, through your feet, into the darkness beneath you. Gone. There is nothing left to carry tonight, nothing left to solve, nothing left to prove to anyone. Not tonight. Tonight belongs entirely to you. Just this voice, and silence, and a story about a woman who carried more than you could ever imagine, and never once put it down, who faced more resistance than most people face in 10 lifetimes, and never once stopped building. Tonight, I am taking you somewhere very few people in the Western world have ever truly heard about, far from Europe, far from Rome and Greece and Egypt, to a peninsula jutting out from the eastern edge of Asia, where the Yellow Sea meets the East Sea, where mountains rise so sharply from the coastline that ancient people believed the gods lived in their peaks, the Korean peninsula, in the year 632 AD, a time when the world was still finding its shape, when empires rose and fell like breathing, when the stars above were not just beautiful, they were messages, instructions, warnings, maps, and in a kingdom called Silla, in the southeastern corner of that ancient peninsula, a woman sat on a throne, alone, not beside a king, not behind a king, on the throne itself, the first woman in Korean history to rule as queen in her own right. Her name was Seondeok, and every man in her kingdom spent her entire reign trying to prove she didn't belong there. Every single one of them failed. Breathe slowly, in and out. The night is quiet. You are safe. This is her story. The queen they tried to erase. The woman who read the stars. Queen Seondeok of Korea. To truly understand Seondeok, you must first understand the world she opened her eyes into. 7th century Korea was not a gentle place. It was not a place of quiet diplomacy and careful negotiation. It was a place of swords, of cavalry charges across frozen plains, of fortress walls built thick enough to absorb siege weapons, and defenders who knew they might never see their families again. The Korean peninsula was divided into 3 kingdoms, 3 separate nations, each with their own king, their own army, their own ambitions. Silla occupied the southeastern corner of the peninsula, a kingdom of sharp mountains and deep valleys, of Buddhist temples built into cliffsides, of scholars and poets who wrote by candlelight, while soldiers trained in the courtyard below. To the southwest, Baekje, an older kingdom, more established, with connections to Japan across the sea. And to the north, Goguryeo, the largest of the 3 kingdoms, stretching north into what is now Manchuria, a warrior kingdom, fierce, proud, uncompromising. These 3 kingdoms had been fighting each other for centuries. Alliances formed and broke, borders shifted like sand. Villages that were Silla one generation were Baekje the next. And beyond all 3 kingdoms, watching from across the Yellow Sea, the Tang dynasty of China, the most powerful empire in all of Asia, with an emperor who looked at the Korean peninsula and saw opportunity. Into this world, Seondeok was born, the eldest daughter of King Jinpyong of Silla, a princess in a kingdom that had no precedent for what she would become. In 7th century Korea, Women of noble birth were expected to be beautiful, to be graceful, to be married strategically, to strengthen alliances between powerful families. They were not expected to study military strategy. They were not expected to learn astronomy. They were not expected to negotiate with emperors. And they were absolutely not expected to rule. But seondeok, from the very beginning, did not read from the expected script. As a child, she asked questions that made her tutors uncomfortable, not about household management, not about the proper way to pour tea for a visiting lord, about the stars, about why certain harvests failed while others thrived, about the patterns she noticed in the movement of the moon, and how they seemed to match the flooding of the rivers. Her father watched and understood what he was seeing. He chose her. In 632 AD, Seondeok became the 27th ruler of the Silla Kingdom, the first queen regnant in Korean history, and the court was not happy. Breathe slowly, in and out. Feel yourself settling deeper into the quiet. She was just beginning, and so are you. The moment Seondeok sat on the throne of Silla, the testing began. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, the way the most dangerous resistance always is. In the court chamber, male nobles would position themselves so their backs were almost, but not quite, turned to her. In council meetings, arguments she had already settled once would be raised again, as if her word had not been final, as if perhaps she had misspoken, as if perhaps someone else, someone more suitable, might reconsider the matter. She never raised her voice. She never showed frustration. She simply decided again and moved on, because she understood something that her opponents didn't, that every time they tested her and failed, they made her stronger. Every raised eyebrow, every whispered doubt, every moment of deliberate disrespect that she absorbed without flinching added another stone to the foundation she was building. But it was not just the internal resistance. The neighboring kingdoms moved quickly when they heard a woman had taken the Silla throne. Baekje launched raids along the western border. Goguryeo probed the northern defenses, both expecting hesitation, both expecting a queen who would send diplomats when she should have been sending soldiers. Both were surprised. Seondeok responded to both threats simultaneously. She mobilized the Silla military with precision. She placed her most trusted generals at the border posts. She personally reviewed defensive strategies, not from a distance, not through intermediaries. She sat in the war councils. She asked the right questions. She made the decisions. And while the borders held, she began doing something that none of her opponents had anticipated. She started building alliances. Not just military alliances, cultural alliances, scholarly alliances. She sent monks to study in Tang, China. She invited Chinese scholars to her court. She exchanged gifts and letters with the Tang emperor himself, carefully, patiently, over years, weaving a net of relationships that would eventually change the entire fate of the Korean peninsula. All while managing wars on two fronts, all while dealing with internal resistance, all while building, always building. Breathe in slowly and out. Feel your body sinking deeper. She never stopped, and you don't have to either. You can rest now. Let the story carry you. Of everything Seondeok built during her reign, nothing speaks more clearly about who she was than Cheomseongdae, the star-gazing tower, built in 634 AD, just 2 years after she took the throne. as if it was the first thing she had been waiting to do. As if before anything else, she needed to look up. Cheomseongdae stands 9 meters tall, a bottle-shaped tower of carefully fitted granite blocks, 362 blocks in total, one for each day of the lunar year. At the base, 12 large rectangular stones, one for each month. At the top, an opening facing south, perfectly positioned so that twice a year, at the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight falls directly through the opening and illuminates the interior completely. And at night, an astronomer would climb through the window, up into the observation chamber, and map the sky above, charting the movements of planets, recording the appearance of comets, tracking the patterns of stars that signaled coming seasons, coming storms, coming harvests. Cheomseongdae is the oldest surviving astronomical observatory in all of Asia. It still stands today in the city of Gyeongju in South Korea, 1,390 years after seondeok commissioned it. Stand before it today, and you can still see the precision of every placed stone, every deliberate measurement, every careful calculation, built by a queen who understood that the sky was not just something to admire, it was something to read, something to learn from. Seondeok trained astronomers. She funded observation posts across Silla. She made the study of the heavens a matter of state importance. In the 7th century, when much of the world considered such study heresy, when looking at the stars too carefully could get you killed in other places, Seondeok built towers to look from them. The same stars she watched from cheomseongdae are above you right now, in the darkness above the ceiling, above the roof, above the clouds. The same stars, unchanged, still moving in their ancient patterns, still carrying the same messages they carried to Seondeok 1,400 years ago. Breathe in slowly and out. Let the stars be above you now, cold and ancient and beautiful. You don't need to look at them tonight. Just know they are there, watching over you, the way they watched over her. The observatory was not the only thing Seondeok built. Her reign was a period of extraordinary construction, not just of buildings, of ideas, of knowledge, of the infrastructure of learning that a civilization needs. To survive beyond any single ruler's lifetime, she commissioned Hwangryongsa, the Temple of the Imperial Dragon, the largest wooden structure ever built on the Korean peninsula, a 9-story pagoda that rose so high above the Silla capital that, according to the historical records, it could be seen from neighboring kingdoms on a clear day. A statement, not of war, not of military power, of culture, of sophistication, of a kingdom that built for eternity. She opened schools, not just for the nobility, for talented students of all backgrounds. She believed that knowledge was not a privilege, it was a resource, a strategic resource, as important as soldiers, as important as gold. She sent students to Tang, China to study medicine, philosophy, engineering, art, and when they returned, she put what they had learned to immediate use. Medical knowledge improved the health of her armies. Engineering knowledge improved her fortifications. Philosophical knowledge influenced her legal code. Artistic knowledge beautified her capital. Everything connected, everything building on everything else. Like the careful placement of each stone in Cheomseongdae, each piece knowing its purpose, each piece supporting the whole. There is a famous story about Seondeok that her historians recorded. Before she became queen, the Tang emperor sent her a painting of peonies, along with peony seeds. The painting was beautiful, the flowers vivid and colorful, but Seondeok looked at the painting carefully and said quietly, "These flowers have no fragrance." Her attendants were confused. How could she know that from a painting? She pointed to the flowers. "There are no butterflies in this painting, and no bees. If the flowers had fragrance, the artist would have painted them. She planted the seeds anyway, and when they bloomed, she was right. They had no fragrance." The story spread through the court, through the kingdom, eventually through all of Korea. A queen who could read the truth in a painting, who could see what was not there as clearly as what was. Breathe slowly, in and out. Feel yourself drifting like a petal from a peony on a still evening, floating, unhurried, safe. In 647 AD, 15 years into her reign, the final test came. A nobleman named Bidam, one of the most senior officials in the entire Silla court, a man who had served under her father, who had watched Seondeok take the throne, who had spent 15 years collecting grievances, building alliances, waiting for the right moment. That moment came when word spread through the court that Seondeok was ill, seriously ill. Her health had been declining for months. Everyone in the palace knew it, and Bidam moved. He raised the argument that had always been there, waiting beneath the surface of every skeptical look, every turn back, every question raised after a decision had been made. A woman cannot rule. It is against the natural order. It brings misfortune upon the kingdom. He pointed to the wars, to the ongoing conflicts with Baekje and Goguryeo. As evidence, he gathered followers. He gathered soldiers. He marched on the capital. And Seondeok, dying in her palace, heard the news and did not hesitate. From her sickbed, she summoned her generals. She reviewed the military situation. She identified the weaknesses in Bidam's position. She gave orders, clear, precise, calm. The voice of someone who had been governing for 15 years, who had faced this kind of challenge 100 times in smaller ways, and knew exactly how to respond. The Silla army moved. Bidam's forces were engaged at the outskirts of the capital. The rebellion was contained, pushed back, broken. Bidam himself was captured. He was executed. And 9 days later, Queen Seondeok died in her own bed, in her own palace, surrounded by the kingdom she had built. She did not die in exile. She did not die in defeat. She did not die surrendering to the men who had spent 15 years trying to remove her. She died having crushed the last rebellion against her. She died having won. Breathe in slowly and out. Let that land. She died having won. After everything they threw at her, after every whisper, every test, every attack, every doubt, she won. And now, as you breathe in the quiet, as your body grows heavier with sleep, know that the stars she watched are still there, still moving, still carrying their ancient messages. And she is still there too, buried on the slopes of Mount Nangsan, overlooking the capital she spent her life building, watching over it, even now, even tonight, just like this voice is watching over you as you drift deeper and deeper into the quiet, into the dark, into sleep. The stars are still there, still beautiful. You are safe, completely safe. Good night. Sleep well.